The brain is a world built of tiny fires, electrical impulses, chemical messengers, trillions of connections that hold your name, your mother's face, the route home. It's a delicate ecosystem, and for millions of people, something they trust is slowly, quietly extinguishing those fires. It's not old age, it's not genetics. It's a bottle on the bathroom shelf, bought from a pharmacy, handed over by a doctor who meant no harm. And the tragedy is, by the time the fog sets in, by the time names start slipping and conversations become confusing, it's already taken root. We assume that aging is the slow fading of the light, but for some, the dimmer switch is chemical. This is not about scaring you away from the medicine you need. This is about the medicine you don't. It's about the conversation that almost never happens, the one where a doctor looks you in the eye and explains the hidden cost to your mind. Every day, millions of people swallow pills to manage pain, to sleep, to calm an anxious heart, all while unwittingly trading their sharpest asset for temporary relief. By the time you finish this, you'll see your medicine cabinet in a different light, and you'll know exactly which drugs to question and why. Let's start with the one that's probably in your kitchen, sold like candy, but with a hidden price tag that could cost you everything. It's the little pink pill that cures a sneeze and promises sleep. It sits on an open shelf, no prescription needed, and we've been told our whole lives that it's as gentle as a glass of water. But inside the brain, it acts like a chemical burglar. Diphenhydramine, the generic name you'll find in Benadryl, and the PM in most over-the-counter sleep aids, belongs to a class of drugs that are neurologically devastating. These are called anticholinergics. They work by blocking a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which is the brain's primary fuel for learning and memory. Think of acetylcholine as the executive director of your mind. Without it, new information can't be filed, old memories can't be retrieved, and your thoughts stumble in the dark. As we age, the brain produces less of this chemical naturally. So when we introduce a drug that actively suppresses it, the impact is magnified. A 30-year-old might feel a little groggy after a dose of Benadryl. A 70-year-old might feel their entire cognition shift into slow motion. A study published in the Journal of Geriatric Cognitive Health found that older adults who used these drugs regularly had a 54% higher risk of developing dementia, more than half. For something you pop for a runny nose, if you take anything to sleep, check the label for diphenhydramine. If you see it, ask yourself if a restless night is worth the long-term risk. Safer alternatives exist. Newer antihistamines like loratadine, the active ingredient in Claritin, don't cross the blood-brain barrier in the same way. They work on allergies, not your memory. And if you're taking this stuff as a sleep aid, talk to your doctor about melatonin or other non-anticholinergic options. Your memory is worth more than a cheap night's sleep. Now let's travel down to your stomach. Heartburn is miserable. The burning, the acid, the feeling that you've swallowed a tiny sun. Millions of people find relief in a class of drugs called proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs. You know them as Prilosec or Nexium. They're hailed as miracle workers, shutting off the acid pump in your stomach with just one pill a day. They feel like salvation. But they might be starving your brain of the nutrients it needs to survive. Your stomach acid isn't just there to punish you for eating spicy food. It's a crucial tool for extracting vitamins and minerals from your diet. Chief among these is vitamin B12, which acts as insulation for the wiring of your nervous system. When you turn down the acid, you turn down your ability to absorb B12. And without B12, your brain starts misfiring. It leads to confusion, memory slips, and a form of dementia that looks exactly like Alzheimer's, but is actually a deficiency caused by your medication. A landmark study in JAMA Neurology looked at over 73,000 older adults and found that regular PPI users had a 44% higher risk of dementia. But it's not just a lack of vitamins. These drugs have also been shown to increase levels of amyloid beta in the brain, the sticky plaques that are the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. You're doubling the damage. So if you're taking one of these daily, ask yourself if you really need it. Many people can taper off with the help of their doctor. Gentler alternatives like H2 blockers, such as famotidine, Pepcid, are much safer for your brain. Or try chewing DGL licorice, a natural compound that coats the stomach without suppressing acid. The goal should always be the lowest effective dose for the shortest possible time. There's a type of drug that reshapes lives for the better in one way, while quietly dismantling them in another. We're talking about bladder control medications, specifically the anticholinergic ones, like oxybutynin. It's prescribed for seniors suffering from an overactive bladder, that sudden, urgent dash to the bathroom that can make someone a prisoner in their own home. The relief is profound. The embarrassment it spares people is real. But remember the anticholinergic label. This drug is a powerful blocker of the very same acetylcholine we need for memory. In 2019, the British Medical Journal published a study of people over 65 who took strong anticholinergic drugs like oxybutynin for more than a year. Their risk of dementia was 49% higher, almost 1 in 2. The tragedy is that almost none of them were warned. Their doctors told them it would calm their bladder, but didn't mention it might be dimming their mind. They blamed their forgetfulness on age. Their families watched them fade, assuming it's inevitable. But it's not. If you take oxybutynin, you do not have to choose between your bladder and your brain. There are newer drugs, like mirabegron, that work on an entirely different pathway. They give you the same control without ever touching your acetylcholine. If you notice your memory slipping on these medications, bring it up. Don't accept it as your new normal. It's a conversation that could save your cognition. Number 6 is likely the most controversial because it's a lifeline for millions with heart disease. Statins like atorvastatin and simvastatin are among the most prescribed drugs in the world. They lower cholesterol and prevent heart attacks. They belong in many people's lives. But this is the part of the story that usually gets left out. Your brain is made of fat. About 60% of its structure is fat, and it uses cholesterol, the very thing statins lower, to build the myelin sheath. This is the insulation wrapped around every nerve fiber that allows signals to travel at lightning speed. Lower cholesterol too much with a potent statin, and you leave your brain short of the raw material it needs to function. A 2023 study in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that adults over 70 who had been on statins for more than 3 years had a 26% higher rate of mild cognitive impairment. The higher the dose, the steeper the slide. This isn't a reason to quit a life-saving drug on your own, but it is a reason to understand the nuance. Not all statins touch the brain the same way. Pravastatin and rosuvastatin do not cross into brain tissue as readily and are generally considered the safer choices for thinking. If you notice fog creeping in on a high-dose statin, don't ignore it. Have that conversation with your doctor about a lower dose or a switch. It is the medical equivalent of threading a needle, but with a skilled doctor, you can protect your heart without sacrificing your mind. Now we come to the drugs that are handed out like aspirin for anxiety and insomnia. Benzodiazepines, Xanax, Valium, Ativan. They are the chemical fire extinguishers for a racing mind. They boost a calming signal in the brain called GABA, turning down the volume on your stress. At first, they are a miracle, but over time, the picture changes drastically. A 2022 study in the British Medical Journal followed more than 8,000 seniors for 6 years. Those who used benzodiazepines for longer than 3 months had a 51% higher risk of Alzheimer's disease. Why? Because these drugs are a slow chemical sedation of the entire brain. It learns new things more slowly, it grows less flexible, and people often describe a flatness, a sense of moving through fog. The cruelest part is the exit. Stop a benzo abruptly, and the anxiety and insomnia come back twice as hard, along with agitation that can be genuinely dangerous. This makes the pill feel essential, right when it is doing the most harm. If you've been on one for more than a few weeks, do not stop suddenly. The withdrawal can be life-threatening. Work with a doctor to taper down slowly over weeks or months. There are gentler options. For anxiety, buspirone is a non-sedating alternative. Talk therapy, specifically CBT for insomnia, can rewire the brain to sleep without drugs. You don't have to live in a fog to escape your anxiety. Number 4 is a single pill prescribed for 3 different problems, and it carries one of the heaviest hidden burdens. Amitriptyline is an older antidepressant still widely used for nerve pain, migraines, and sleep. It looks like a do-everything pill, but underneath, it's one of the most powerful anticholinergic drugs still in wide use. It blocks acetylcholine so strongly that long-term use makes memory loss not a side effect, but the expected result. In 2015, a study in JAMA Internal Medicine tracked older adults with the highest cumulative dose of these anticholinergic drugs over 10 years. They had a 54% greater chance of dementia. Almost none of them were ever told the pill could do that. If you take it for nerve pain, ask about duloxetine or gabapentin. If it's for sleep, consider melatonin or a low dose of doxepin, which is far gentler. For mood, newer SSR is like sertraline or escitalopram are considered much safer for the long-term health of the brain. This is a drug that is often a relic of an older practice, and it's time to ask your doctor if there's a better, safer way. Number 3 is the one that breaks the mold, because it's supposed to be the modern, gentle option. It's paroxetine, sold as Paxil. It's one of the most prescribed antidepressants in a family called SSRIs, and on the surface, it looks like a kinder, gentler alternative to the older drugs. But here is the detail they rarely mention. Paroxetine is the one SSRI with a strong anticholinergic activity. It reaches into the same acetylcholine system that Benadryl attacks. Its siblings, like sertraline or escitalopram, do not have this effect. In 2021, a review in Frontiers in Psychiatry found that older adults on paroxetine showed measurable drops in short-term memory and word recall within the first 12 months. Seniors were 30% more likely to show signs of cognitive impairment compared to those on other antidepressants. The irony is painful. The drug is given to steady the mind, and over time, it can wear down the very clarity it was meant to protect. The American Geriatric Society placed it on the Beers list, a formal catalog of drugs considered risky for seniors. If you take it, ask your doctor about moving to a safer SSRI. It is one of the easiest fixes on this list.
Number 2 disturbs me the most, because so many people taking these drugs never agreed to take them. We're talking about antipsychotics. Drugs like quetiapine, risperidone, and olanzapine. They were built and approved for serious psychiatric illnesses like schizophrenia. Today, they are routinely handed out off-label to older adults in nursing homes and even at home for sleep, for restlessness, or just to manage the agitation that comes with dementia itself. They are chemical restraints. In 2022, a study in the Lancet Healthy Longevity followed more than 25,000 older adults and found that those given antipsychotics for behavioral symptoms were 71% more likely to suffer worsening cognitive decline within a year. These drugs suppress dopamine, a chemical tied not only to mood, but to focus, planning, and memory. Drop dopamine far enough, and the brain goes slow, unresponsive, and absent. Families grieve someone who is still sitting right in front of them. If you or a loved one is on one of these, ask the prescribing doctor a direct question. Why was this started? Is it truly necessary, or is it here for convenience? Most behavioral symptoms can be eased through routine, reduced noise, treating hidden pain, and fixing sleep schedules without drugs at all. When medication is truly needed, the lowest dose for the shortest time keeps the harm down. Finally, number 1. It's not a single drug at all. It is polypharmacy, the stacking effect. You may be taking multiple drugs that have a mild anticholinergic effect, and the total burden is catastrophic. A senior takes Benadryl to sleep, oxybutynin for the bladder, and amitriptyline for nerve pain. On their own, each one might cause a small dip. Taken together, they compound, and the total burden on the brain climbs fast. In 2022, a study tracking 280,000 older adults found those with the highest anticholinergic burden had a 120% higher risk of dementia, more than double. And the great majority had no idea they were on anticholinergic drugs at all. No one had ever explained it to them. But here is the hope. This is the most preventable threat to the aging mind. Drug-induced decline is often reversible when caught early. Lift the burden, and many people get their clarity and memory back within weeks or months. The fix does not take a miracle. It takes a simple medication review. Sit down with your doctor or pharmacist and add up the anticholinergic load. Spot the problem drugs. Taper off what you don't need. Switch to safer options. Give your brain room to breathe. Your medicine cabinet could be holding the key to your future. The question is, are you ready to open it and take a closer look? There is a reason we have the phrase, use it or lose it. But for your brain, it's more than a phrase. It's chemistry. Every pill you take is a vote for short-term relief or a vote for long-term clarity. Make sure you're casting the right one. And if you think this has been valuable, don't just save it for yourself. Send it to someone you love. It might just be the best warning they ever receive.